The coffee shop was called Second Chances. Lauren Hayes thought that was either very on the nose or cosmically intentional. She was 41 years old, worth $3.6 billion, CEO of Hayes Technologies, and she'd agreed to a blind date set up by her assistant because 3 months ago her fiancé had been arrested for insider trading, using information he'd gotten from her, while planning their wedding, while wearing expensive suits and taking her to restaurants where the wine cost more than most people's rent. Derek had loved her money, had never loved her. So here she was, blind date, coffee shop in a neighborhood she'd never visited, wearing jeans and a sweater instead of her usual Armani armor, hair down, minimal makeup, trying to be, what, a normal person? Someone a man might actually want for reasons beyond quarterly earnings? "You must be Lauren." She looked up. The man standing beside her table was not what she expected. He was handsome, light brown skin, military short hair going gray at the temples, green eyes that had seen things, strong build, maybe 6'2", wearing jeans, a yellow button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up, and a watch that was functional, not flashy. He held himself with the kind of quiet confidence that didn't need to announce itself. "I'm Ethan," said Ethan. "Ethan Cross. Your assistant said you like Ethiopian coffee, so I took the liberty." He set down 2 cups. "This is the Yirgacheffe, notes of citrus and jasmine. If you hate it, we can order something else." Lauren stared at the coffee, at the man who'd remembered a detail about her preferences that her own fiancé had never bothered learning in 2 years. "How did you... my assistant told you that?" "She mentioned you're particular about coffee," Ethan said, sitting down across from her, "and that you've had a rough few months. So I figured, start with good coffee. The rest we can figure out as we go." Lauren picked up the cup, smelled it. "Perfect. Thank you." "You're welcome." They sat in silence for a moment. Not awkward silence, just quiet, like 2 people who didn't need to fill every second with noise. "So," Ethan said finally, "I probably should tell you up front, I'm a single father. My daughter Emma is 12. She's the reason I'm on this blind date. She set it up through your assistant, apparently. They met at some school fundraiser and conspired. I only found out yesterday." Lauren felt something ease in her chest. "My assistant set this up because she's tired of watching me work 16-hour days and go home to an empty penthouse. So we're both here under duress from well-meaning people who think we need to stop being alone." "Do we? Need to stop being alone?" Lauren looked at him, really looked, at the way he held his coffee cup, carefully, like he was aware it was hot and didn't want to spill it, at the scar above his left eyebrow, at the calluses on his hands that said he worked with them, not just behind a desk. "I don't know," Lauren admitted. "I thought I'd stopped being alone. Turns out I was just occupied. There's a difference." "Yeah," Ethan agreed quietly. "There is." Something in his voice made Lauren ask, "Do you've been there too? The occupied, not connected thing?" "My ex-wife," Ethan said. "She was there physically for 5 years, but emotionally she checked out about 6 months in. Stayed for appearances, for the image of being a military wife. When I got back from deployment with a Purple Heart and a medical discharge, she left within a week. Said she'd signed up for a hero, not, well, whatever I'd become." Lauren saw it then. The slight stiffness in how he'd sat down. The prosthetic. "I'm sorry," she said. "Don't be," Ethan replied. "She did me a favor. Better to be alone than with someone who only loves the version of you that's easy. Emma and we've been figuring it out, just the 2 of us. And it's been..." He paused. "It's been good. Hard, but good. Real." Real. Lauren couldn't remember the last time anything in her life had felt real. Derek had been performance. Her board meetings were theater. Her wealth was abstract numbers that didn't translate to actual happiness. She'd built an empire and furnished it with expensive emptiness. "I like real," Lauren said. "I think I've forgotten how to do it, but I'd like to learn." Ethan smiled. "Then let's start there. No performance, no pretending, just coffee, and seeing if we can figure out how to be 2 people who are learning to be real again." "Deal," Lauren said. They talked for 2 hours. About Emma's soccer games and Lauren's impossible work schedule. About Ethan's carpentry business. He built custom furniture, worked with his hands, found peace in wood and precision. about Lauren's slow realization that running a company didn't mean sacrificing everything else. It was easy, natural, like talking to someone who understood that life was complicated and beautiful and broken and worth showing up for anyway. When they finally left the coffee shop, Ethan walked Lauren to her car. Not because she needed protecting, but because it felt like the thing you did when you wanted to spend 5 more minutes with someone. "Can I see you again?" Ethan asked. "Yes," Lauren said. "I'd like that." "Next Saturday? There's a farmer's market near my place. Emma and I go every week. It's not fancy, but it's real." "Perfect," Lauren said. She drove home to her penthouse feeling something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. The fragile kind. The kind that scared her because it meant she was letting someone in. But maybe that was okay. Maybe Ethan Cross was worth the risk. She had no idea that 3 years ago, she'd destroyed his life. Lauren met Ethan at the farmer's market the following Saturday. She wore jeans and a simple white blouse, trying to look casual, trying not to look like someone who usually wore clothes that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Ethan was there with Emma, 12 years old, curly brown hair, wearing a yellow soccer jersey and an expression that said she was evaluating Lauren with the brutal honesty of 12-year-olds. "You're the blind date," Emma announced. "I am," Lauren confirmed. "Are you nice?" "Emma," Ethan warned. "What? I need to know if she's nice. Last time you dated someone, she said I was challenging. That's code for I don't like kids." Lauren knelt down to Emma's level. "I think challenging usually means this child is smarter than I am and I don't know how to handle it. Are you smart?" Emma's suspicion cracked slightly. "Very." "Then I'm probably going to be challenged," Lauren admitted. "But I like smart. Smart is interesting." "Okay," Emma said. "You can come to the farmer's market, but you have to carry the tomatoes. They're heavy." For the next 3 hours, Lauren carried tomatoes and potatoes and a butternut squash that weighed approximately 12 pounds. Ethan bought fresh bread from a woman who knew his name. Emma negotiated the price of strawberries in a way that suggested she'd learned bargaining from someone very shrewd. And Lauren felt something she'd almost forgotten. Lightness, joy. The simple pleasure of being with people who didn't care about her net worth or her quarterly earnings or whether she was wearing the right designer labels. "Thank you," Lauren said when they walked her back to her car, her arms full of vegetables she had no idea how to cook. "For what?" Ethan asked. "For this, for remembering what normal feels like." "This is my normal," Ethan said, "but I'm glad you liked it." And he pulled something from his pocket. A small wooden keychain carved in the shape of a coffee cup. "I made this for you, to remember," he seemed embarrassed, "to remember good coffee and second chances." Lauren took the keychain, felt the smooth wood, the careful detail. "You made this?" "I make things," Ethan said simply. "It's what I do when I'm not carrying 12-pound squash for beautiful women who don't know how to cook them." Beautiful. He'd called her beautiful. Not rich, not powerful, beautiful. "I don't know how to cook it," Lauren admitted. "I'll teach you, if you want. Next weekend, my place. Nothing fancy, just dinner and cooking lessons, and Emma interrogating you about your intentions." "I'd love that." She drove home with a wooden keychain and a trunk full of vegetables she had no idea how to cook, and a feeling in her chest that she was terrified to name. Over the next month, Lauren learned things about Ethan Cross that had nothing to do with words. She learned that he fixed the broken fence in his elderly neighbor's yard without being asked, that he carried an extra umbrella in his truck in case it rained, that he left anonymous donations, small but consistent, in the collection box at Emma's school for families who couldn't afford field trip fees. Lauren knew this because she started paying attention, watching, seeing. Ethan didn't announce his kindness, didn't perform generosity for recognition. He just showed up, quietly, consistently, fixed things, helped people, made the world slightly better in ways nobody noticed. Like the morning Lauren's car wouldn't start in his driveway. Ethan didn't call a tow truck or lecture her about maintenance. He just opened the hood, diagnosed the problem, and fixed it, quietly, efficiently. "How did you know how to do that?" Lauren asked. "Military," Ethan said. "You learn to fix things. Equipment breaks in the field. You can't just call customer service. You figure it out." "What did you do in the military?" Ethan's expression shuddered slightly. "Combat engineer, IED disposal. I made sure roads were safe for convoys. Made sure—" He stopped. "Made sure people got home." "Until you didn't," Lauren said softly, looking at his leg. "Until I didn't," Ethan agreed. "But Emma got a father. That's the trade I made. My leg for her having a parent who's present. I'd make that trade every time." Presence. That word again. Ethan defined everything by presence, by showing up, by being there. Not like Derek, who'd been there physically but absent in every way that mattered. Who'd loved her money and her image but never her actual self. Lauren started showing up too. She came to Emma's soccer games, learned the names of the other parents, cheered when Emma scored and commiserated when she didn't. She helped Ethan with his carpentry business, not with money but with time, sanding wood, holding pieces while he assembled them, learning that creation was meditation. And slowly, so slowly she almost didn't notice, Lauren stopped checking her phone every 5 minutes, stopped thinking about quarterly earnings and board meetings and whether her stock price was up or down. She thought about Ethan's hands, about the way Emma laughed, about the peace of Sunday mornings in a workshop that smelled like sawdust and possibility. She was falling in love, and she was terrified. 3 months into whatever this was, dating, courtship, 2 people learning to be vulnerable again, Lauren walked into Ethan's workshop and found him staring at something on his phone. His face was pale, devastated. "What's wrong?" Lauren asked. Ethan looked up. "Do you know who Garrett Michaels is?" Lauren's stomach dropped. Garrett Michaels, her former VP of security, the man she'd fired 3 years ago for— "He was arrested this morning," Ethan continued, his voice flat. "Embezzlement. Fraud. Apparently he'd been stealing from your company for years. They finally caught him." "I know," Lauren said quietly. "I'm the one who figured it out. I'm the one who fired him. 3 years ago." Ethan's expression was unreadable. 3 years ago? "Yes. Why are you asking about Garrett Michaels?" "Because he was my best friend," Ethan said. "We served together. When I came back from deployment, he helped me get a job at Hayes Technologies, security contractor. It was good work, good pay. I was building a life for Emma and me, and then one day—" his voice cracked. "One day I was called into an office and told I was being let go. No explanation, just gone. My contract terminated immediately, and I couldn't get another job, couldn't get references, couldn't figure out what I'd done wrong." Lauren felt like the floor had disappeared. "Ethan, it was you, wasn't it? You fired me, not Garrett, me, the contractor who'd done nothing wrong except be associated with the wrong person." "I didn't know," Lauren whispered. "I fired everyone in Garrett's department, his entire team. I didn't investigate individuals. I made a blanket decision. Fire everyone, sort it out later, protect the company. And I never followed up, never checked if people were collateral damage. I just destroyed lives and moved on to the next problem." "You destroyed my life," Ethan said. His voice was quiet, but there was pain underneath, raw, bleeding. "I lost my job, couldn't pay rent. Emma and we lived in my truck for 2 months. 2 months, while I tried to figure out how to rebuild from nothing, while I watched my 12-year-old daughter brush her teeth in gas station bathrooms because her father couldn't provide a home. And you," he looked at her, "you moved on to your next quarterly earnings report." Lauren was crying now. "I'm sorry. God, Ethan, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I should have investigated, should have cared about the actual humans affected by my decisions, but I didn't. I was a CEO who treated people like numbers, who optimized for profit and forgot that every line item represented someone's life." "Why didn't you tell me?" Ethan asked. "When we met, when you learned my name, you must have known." I didn't remember, Lauren admitted. There were dozens of contractors fired that day. I didn't know their names. I didn't look at their faces. I signed the paperwork and let HR handle it. I'm not making excuses. I'm telling you the truth. I didn't remember you because I never saw you. And that's the worst part. You weren't even worth remembering. Ethan stood there, silent, processing. I need you to leave, he said finally. Ethan, please, I need time to think, to figure out if any of this was real, or if I was just another problem you were solving, another charity case. You were never a charity case, Lauren said desperately. You are the first real thing I've had in years, the first person who saw me, who... I can't, Ethan interrupted. Not right now. I need you to leave. Lauren left, drove home through tears that wouldn't stop, sat in her penthouse, expensive, empty, exactly what she deserved, and realized she'd done it again. She'd hurt someone without even trying, without even noticing, because that's what billionaires did. They moved through the world destroying things and called it business. And Ethan Cross, veteran, single father, carpenter who carved wooden keychains and fixed elderly neighbors' fences, had been collateral damage in her empire building. She'd fallen in love with him, and she'd destroyed him years before they ever met. For 2 weeks, Lauren didn't hear from Ethan. She didn't push, didn't show up at his house or his workshop, gave him space, because space was the least she could offer after taking everything else. Instead, she did something she should have done 3 years ago. She investigated. Every contractor fired from Garrett's department, every single one. Their names, their stories, what had happened to them after Hayes Technologies destroyed their lives with a blanket termination and no severance. 23 people, 23 families. Some had recovered, found new jobs, rebuilt. Others hadn't. Lauren found one woman who'd lost custody of her children because she couldn't prove stable income, a man who'd attempted suicide, a family that had been evicted and ended up homeless for 6 months, and Ethan, who'd lived in his truck with his daughter for 8 weeks, who'd built his carpentry business from nothing, who'd survived and created beauty anyway. Lauren made a list, every single person. Then she did something her board would call insane. She made restitution. Not with a corporate PR statement, not with a press release, but with actual money. Backdated severance, interest, apology letters written in her own hand acknowledging what she'd done. It cost her $8 million. Her board was furious. Her CFO threatened to quit. Lauren didn't care. Money was abstract. People were real. And she'd spent 3 years being abstract when she should have been real. She wrote 23 letters, 23 apologies, including one to Ethan that she didn't send, because that one needed to be said in person. On day 15, Ethan showed up at her office. Lauren's assistant called. "Miss Hayes, there's an Ethan Cross here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment, but..." "Send him in," Lauren said immediately. Ethan entered. He looked tired, like he'd spent 2 weeks not sleeping, processing, deciding. "I've been talking to Emma," Ethan said without preamble, "about you, about what happened, about forgiveness and mistakes, and whether people deserve second chances." "What did she say?" Lauren asked. "She said you carry tomatoes without complaining, that you show up to her soccer games even though you don't like sports, that you laugh at her jokes, and that you look at me the way Mom never did, like I'm someone worth seeing, not someone who's useful, someone who matters." Lauren's throat closed. "You do matter. I know what you did," Ethan interrupted. "I found out about the restitution, about the $8 million, about the letters. You weren't supposed to know about that. That wasn't for recognition. That was because it was right, because I should have done it 3 years ago. Why didn't you? 3 years ago. Why didn't you investigate? Why didn't you care?" Lauren took a breath. Truth. That's what Ethan deserved. Brutal, honest truth. Because I was exactly what people think billionaires are. I was abstract, numbers on a screen. I optimized for profit and forgot that humans were involved. My ex-fiancé, Derek, he saw that. He loved that version of me, the cold, calculating CEO who didn't let emotions interfere with business. And I thought that was strength, being able to fire people without feeling guilty, make hard decisions without losing sleep. But it wasn't strength. It was cowardice. It was being too scared to be human because humans feel pain, and I didn't want to feel pain, so I just stopped feeling. And now? Ethan asked. Now I feel everything, Lauren said, because you taught me how. You and Emma. You taught me that presence matters more than profit, that showing up, really showing up, is the only thing that counts, that love isn't expensive suits and fancy dinners. It's fixing fences and carrying umbrellas and making wooden keychains for people who need to remember that second chances exist. Ethan was quiet for a long moment. I forgive you, he said finally, not because you paid restitution, not because you apologized, but because I watched you become someone different. I watched you show up. For Emma, for me, for yourself. You weren't performing. You were real. And that matters more than what you did 3 years ago. I don't deserve forgiveness, Lauren whispered. Nobody deserves forgiveness, Ethan replied. That's the whole point. Forgiveness isn't about deserving, it's about choosing. And I'm choosing you, the real you, the woman who carries tomatoes and cries at soccer games and learns to sand wood even though she's terrible at it. That woman, I love that woman, and I don't care what she did 3 years ago. I care about who she is now. Lauren crossed the space between them. I love you too, and I'm terrified because I've never been good at this, at real, at vulnerable, at being someone's partner instead of someone's trophy. But I want to learn, with you, if you'll teach me.
Deal, Ethan said, and kissed her. 6 months later, Lauren stood in Ethan's workshop. They were building something together, a dining table, large enough for family dinners, sturdy enough to last generations. Emma was there too, sanding edges with the kind of focus that suggested she'd inherited her father's perfectionism. I have something to tell you both, Lauren said. Ethan looked up from the wood he was measuring. Good news or bad news? Life-changing news, Lauren clarified. I'm stepping down as CEO of Hayes Technologies. Ethan's hands stilled. What? I'm not quitting, Lauren explained. I'm transitioning to board chair, hiring someone else to run day-to-day operations. Because I realized I don't want to spend my life in boardrooms anymore. I want to spend it, she gestured to the workshop, to Emma, to the table they were building. Here, building real things with real people, being present instead of profitable. Are you sure? Ethan asked. Your company will be fine without me. Better, probably, because I'll stop making decisions that prioritize quarterly earnings over human dignity, and I'll have time. Time for Emma's soccer games, time to learn carpentry, time to... She paused, pulled something from her pocket. A wooden box, small, hand-carved, beautiful. Ethan Cross, Lauren said, opening the box to reveal a simple ring. Will you marry me? Ethan stared. Emma gasped. You're proposing to my dad? Emma demanded. I am, Lauren confirmed, because he taught me that love isn't what you buy or what you build. It's what you show up for, every day, through hard conversations and broken pasts and learning to be vulnerable. And I want to show up for both of you, for the rest of my life, if you'll have me. You made this box, Ethan said, his voice unsteady. Yourself? You taught me how, Lauren replied. Taught me that making things with your hands is how you make meaning. So I made this, for you, to say To say I'm not the woman who fired you 3 years ago. I'm the woman who's learning to be worthy of you now. And I know I'll mess up. I know I'll make mistakes. But I promise I'll show up. Always, no matter what. Emma looked at her father. Dad, if you say no, I'm disowning you. She made a box, Dad, with her hands. That's basically a marriage proposal in carpenter language. Ethan laughed, the sound cracking with emotion. Yes, God, yes. Lauren Hayes, I will marry you and spend the rest of my life teaching you to sand wood properly and showing you that real love is just showing up, together, through everything. Lauren slipped the ring onto his finger, kissed him while Emma cheered and complained about PDA in the workshop. And for the first time in her life, Lauren understood. Wealth wasn't billions. It was this, a workshop that smelled like sawdust, a daughter who called you out, a man who'd forgiven the unforgivable because he chose to see who you'd become instead of who you'd been. This was real. This was enough. This was everything.
1 year after the proposal, Lauren and Ethan stood in front of the dining table they'd built together. It was set for 25 people. Not a fancy wedding, not a destination event with celebrity guests and designer dresses, just family. The 23 people Lauren had once fired, their partners, their children, Emma, and Ethan and Lauren at the head of the table they'd made with their own hands. Thank you for coming, Lauren said to the gathered crowd. I know I don't deserve this, don't deserve your presence after what I did. But Ethan taught me something. Forgiveness isn't about deserving, it's about choosing. And you all chose to be here, to give me a second chance, to build something new instead of staying stuck in what I destroyed. She looked at Ethan, at the man who'd been collateral damage in her empire building, who'd lived in his truck and raised his daughter in gas station bathrooms, who'd forgiven her anyway. I spent 41 years thinking wealth was money, that success was quarterly earnings and stock prices. But real wealth, she gestured to the table, the people, the life they'd built. Real wealth is this, people who show up, who carry umbrellas and fix fences and make wooden keychains to remind you that second chances exist. Real wealth is building tables large enough for everyone, making room, showing up, being present. To second chances, Ethan added, raising his glass. To second chances, everyone echoed. They ate dinner at the table Lauren and Ethan had built, told stories, laughed. Emma gave a speech about how her dad was disgustingly in love, and it was actually kind of cute.
And Lauren Hayes, former CEO, current carpenter, always learning, understood, finally, that the blind date at Second Chance's coffee shop hadn't been cosmic irony. It had been exactly what she needed. A chance to become someone worth loving. A chance to learn that showing up was more important than showing off. A chance to discover that the man she'd once destroyed had built something more valuable than any empire. A life, real, messy, present. And he'd let her build it with him. That was grace. That was love. That was what transcended money and status and every mistake she'd ever made. Emma appeared beside Lauren after dinner. You know what I think? What? Lauren asked. I think Dad fired you. What? 3 years ago? You fired him from Hayes Technologies? But really, he fired you from being the kind of person who treats people like numbers. And then he hired you to be someone better, someone real. That's what he does. He fixes broken things, including billionaires who forgot how to be human. Lauren pulled Emma into a hug. You're 12 and you're already wiser than I'll ever be. I know, Emma said seriously. I get it from Dad. And now, she grinned, now I get it from you too, because you're family. And family is just people who choose to show up every day through everything. Lauren looked across the table at Ethan, at the man who'd chosen her, who taught her that real love was presence, not performance, that wealth was measured in people, not profits, that second chances existed for everyone, even billionaire CEOs who'd forgotten how to be human. He smiled. She smiled back. And in that moment, surrounded by the people she'd once destroyed who'd chosen to forgive her, Lauren Hayes understood the most expensive truth of her life. Money couldn't buy what she had now, but showing up, really, truly showing up, could build it. One day, one moment, one choice at a time.
If this story touched your soul, you've experienced the power of Becca's stories. Subscribe for powerful daily narratives about blind dates that reveal impossible pasts, veterans who build tables from broken things, billionaires learning that presence is wealth, and second chances earned through showing up every single day. Comment below. Have you ever been given a second chance by someone you hurt? What did you build with it? Our mission is to inspire your life and brighten your day through powerful narratives of transformation and human resilience. Like, comment, subscribe to Becca's Stories.